one of the things as well is when you pay artists, because for some reason it's still so rare to get paid for your music. You know.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Yo DNB Raps. It's been a while since our last show, but we are coming thick and fast with the goods on this one. We have got 2 of 3 artists from the group known as Sola. They are UK and Australian based drum and bass group. They've got their release with us coming out on Dirtbox Recordings as the Vibe City 3 album sampler collaboration with Pyxis. We're going to be talking to them about this release. We're going to learn a little bit about them and their background as well. What makes them tick, what gets them annoyed with each other. You know, working as a threesome, it can't be the easiest all the time. But yeah, we're going to talk about all things positive here, see what things are going on with the boys, and let's see what's happening. How you doing, guys? This is James and Rob.
Hello, man.
How you doing, brother?
Great to have you on the show. Thanks for taking time and obviously bouncing back and forwards trying to get this date sorted, but we made it. Finally made it.
Yeah, man, so good. Yeah, I've first of all got to apologize. I came back from Boomtown on Monday, so my voice is a little screwed.
Been there, done that.
I nearly pulled out, but no, I'm glad I'm here. So yeah, just forgive my slightly prepubescent voice for the day.
If you escape from there with just a bit of a dodgy voice, then you've
yeah. I'm getting old, man. I'm getting old.
People in all kind of states.
It's not as easy as it used to be at Boomtown, so I do come back a little less beaten than usual.
It's all hill, isn't it?
What?
I've been there a couple of times, and it's all hill.
It's brutal, man. That hill just never gets any easier. Like the whole thing's uphill, but then there's just one. I think people call it hippie highway, and it's just you just have to go up and down every day, and it's absolute murder.
Are you actually playing at Boomtown then, Rob?
Sadly not, man. But it's so hard to get a set there. I know so many people that were there that were fantastic artists that were there just as a punter like I was. I know people that play there every year that didn't even play this year. I know people that normally play 3-4 sets a year.
Yeah,
they played one this year. It's hard, man. Like there's just so many artists, and particularly at Boomtown, it's got to be one of the biggest gatherings of DJs in the world. They were like, and even just as fans, like there was a shop opposite where I was camped that had open decks, and it had people on it at any given moment of any given day. If you need an example of how many DJs were there.
It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, I look at that as well. Like, I remember a few years ago, I was thinking, like, hang on a minute, I can't get one fucking set there. And there's this geezer I've never heard of playing 5 sets over the weekend and stuff. But the what I found out about it is the hard bit is getting that pass to get the DJ pass. If you can obviously get because the stages have so many passes to give out. And if you can get one of those passes, say you're an artist on that, then after that, it's so easy to get over DJ sets.
It's generally crews as well. So like a stage will be hosted by a crew. So unless you're part of that crew, you can't really play. Yeah, like you say, once you've got one, you've got the other. But even that, I think, has got more difficult this year. People I know that normally play 4 or 5 played 1 this year.
Yeah, sure. Have you been to Boomtown, James?
I've been twice. Once in 2017, and once in 2019.
Yeah. Okay. So you're quite storied when it comes to that. You've been through the different kind of things they've done there. Didn't they move sites as well at one point?
Didn't they move sites?
The Bowl.
Sorry, go on, Jim.
I think it's always been in the Winchester Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Back when I was a kid, it used to be called Homeland Festival, and it was just one day. And I don't know if it was run by the same people, but there used to be a one-day festival called Homeland Festival. There was like jungle, like some hard trance, some like techno, and everyone just went there for the day. And then when that stopped, then Boomtown started up, and that was obviously it's grown and grown and grown.
If I remember as well, like, do you remember the Glade Festival? Like some of the stages from Glade and the systems that were there, some of them are now at Boomtown, some of them are at Glastonbury.
Well, Glade comes from Glastonbury, doesn't it? Or is it the other way around?
I'm not. I think Glade came out of Glastonbury, yeah. But they had their own festival, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. I remember it. Yeah, I never went, but yeah, I remember Homeland as well. It was I was quite a youngster at these sort of times, but yeah.
Well, I'm from those ends. I grew up in Southampton, so
yeah,
it's about 20-minute drive from Boomtown.
What about Glastonbury? Have you tried Glastonbury as well?
I'm thinking of doing next year, man. I mean, if you mean as a DJ, we'd
love to play.
Love to, man. Yeah.
Another
on the bucket list.
Yeah,
all the two. I always kind of like I'll go when I play, and hopefully that happens at some point. I think they're both absolutely realistic. I don't think it's out. I mean, I don't think we'll be necessarily playing one of the main stages, but I think it's absolutely in the realms of possibility for us to play one of them.
Well, like you said, it's the contacts and knowing the people do the sound system. I was lucky enough to play Glastonbury in 2016 on a sound system, and from that was absolutely phenomenal. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter where you play there. I think I remember as well, like on some of the walkways between the districts, somebody brought sound system and they just set it up on a walkway. They weren't even kind of like booked to play. They just brought a sound system and set it up, and for the entire week they were just playing up on this walkway basically, and it was always rammed, always.
Yeah,
good fun. So let's move on a little bit from the festivals and talk about some of the background of you guys. Obviously, I've been having most contact with yourself, James, obviously when we've chatted about potentially getting a release on Dirtbox and what you guys are about. You're based in Manchester at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm based in Greater Manchester and Rob's in Hart.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not too far away from each other at the moment, then, are you?
No.
40-minute drive.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a long reach as well from our third member who's happily not with us here today. How did that link come in with obviously Paul, who's in Australia?
He's in Greater Manchester.
Yeah, greater. Well, he's been to Manchester when he was a kid because he's got family over here. But that's not when we met him. We met him because he submitted a demo to the label back in the label's first year. So that would have been 2014.
15, yeah.
14 or 15, yeah. And we liked it, so we signed him, and he ended up releasing about 10-15 tunes under his name Han. And then it was we asked him to do a remix of one of our tunes for a big compilation, and he ended up doing, like, because he was doing neuro, all the tunes were neuro, ended up doing like this kind of like liquid dance floor,
like hospital style.
Yeah, and we were like, oh, that's really sick. We didn't know you could do that. And he was like, yeah, I love my dance floor, love my liquid. And we were like, well, we love all that stuff as well. We're very full spectrum, and that kind of our USP is that, you know, we really love the whole spectrum, you know, from neuro to jungle to liquid to dance floor. So we started making some tunes together, and that was going to be the ethos, just a big melting pot of all the styles. But at the time, me and Rob were making and producing and DJing as Nothing to Lose and Echidna, which is already a mouthful. So once you add Hannum into that as well, so we were like, right, we just need like a short, catchy name. So we just sort of whittled it down from a list, and in the end, Sola stuck. That was much, much more catchy than Nothing to Lose, Echidna and Hannum. So it would have just been ridiculous.
It rolls off the tongue a little bit better, just a little bit, doesn't it?
Just a little bit better. So yeah, and then 175 tracks later, here we are.
Yeah.
So the birth of the name Sola came from actually turning the duo into a trio. Then, is that right?
Yeah. It was going to be a side project at first, and then it just started doing so well. We were like, let's just do this. This is it. This is working.
I think a lot of things that end up being the main project started as a side project, and then when that gets more traction and people are feeling that more than the other thing you're doing, then it sort of flips and reverses.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I think most things are from that side. It's just how well they go, isn't it? You move on from something. I mean, Dirtbox, that literally was basically a side project to start as a band. It was a band.
It was a band.
Yeah, it was me DJing and doing kind of live stuff with music on, the APC pads and things like that.
Being a bit of a DJ Lethal from the Biscuit.
Yeah. And then I had a beatboxer, an MC, and a drummer. And it was just every so often these guys would join me for a set, and I was like, why don't we put it together? And obviously the name kind of came from, the beatboxing side of it, and it just took off. We became Dirtbox Live, and we were.
That sounds cool to me. I think I like that.
It was great. It was just the hardest bit, and it didn't break up for any reason. It's never really officially broken up. It was more of a case of getting everybody together to
That's always the hardest bit, isn't it?
When you got 5 people together, it's absolutely crazy. And the last of the gigs were just me and the beatboxer a lot, because the drummer couldn't make it, and then the MC were having problems and stuff like that. So we went through like kind of rotating like 3 MCs in the group, and he's like, oh, you know what I mean? So kind of put it to bed, but we'd built up such a kind of brand with the Dirtbox name, I decided to obviously keep it going and start the label. Where did the label come into it for you guys then? Because obviously you two were working together before Paul came along. The label was before Paul then, was it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, early to be fair. Like we started making tunes. How many tunes did we made before we started GTA? Literally like 2 or 3.
Maybe two or 3
together. Yeah. Then it was originally a platform to put them out, and then maybe do a little bit of other stuff. And then
we started putting out strangers music. Well, then we started putting out friends music, and then we started putting out strangers music, and before long we started putting out international strangers music, and then becomes like this worldwide thing. We get demos every day from all over the world.
Yeah, it's crazy the links we made through it. I mean, the biggest link obviously being Paul. We've made friends all over the world because of the label.
How long do you think it took until, for me, that's a turning point in a label, when you stop having to go and find music to sign because it's all coming to you? How long do you feel it took for that turning point to happen, and what do you think created that?
It's a good question. I don't know. Yeah, it happened very, very steadily. I mean, we're now at a point where there's too much.
Yeah. This last 18 months, since we started getting stuff uploaded to UKF, now we've had to, there's tracks that we like but we can't sign. We're like, we like this, but it's not necessarily different enough to anything else on the label. We like it, and we would sign, but we can't. We're not taking it.
And we only have a finite amount of slots as well.
Yeah, because we only have a finite amount of slots, precisely. So what we tend to do now with the label is, when we first take people on, we take them on for a couple of VAs. Everyone wants a single, everyone wants an EP, but we see how it goes. See if they're happy with the way we work, we're happy with the way that they work. Some people, we believe that a release is a collaboration between the label and the artist in terms of the promo. Some people go above and beyond and really promote their work, and other people just either don't do a post about it or do one post and think, oh, well, that's enough. And you think, well, you're not giving your music the best chance. So it gives us a chance to get to know them a chance to get to know us. And if things are going well after a few releases, then we give them a chance at a single or an EP. So that's what we tend to do. So when we start with someone, it could just be that they'd just be on one various artist compilation, and then we never get another demo from them, or never take something else from them. Or it could be that they become a core member within a few months or a few years, and they're releasing regularly. So it's really good. You get to really grow relationships. And it's good when we get to do Grand Theft Audio takeovers and meet these people that we've been working with for years. And we had a great back-to-back set with 2 of the guys from the label in Brighton a couple of weeks ago, 5:30 till 7 in the morning at the Volks. Absolutely amazing.
It was great, man. Yeah, we didn't expect it to be able to have anyone there. Really, it was packed. Like there's videos online. I'm just like zooming into the clock in front of the decks. It's like 6:52 in the morning. There's sunshine blaring in the front door, and it's packed. It's going off. It's great.
I think if it had gone on till 10, there'd still be people there at 10. The fucking party animals in Brighton, mate. Tell you.
Walking out onto the beach at 7 in the morning is mad. as well. While leaving the club, and it's full sunshine and sit on the beach from it.
Massive shout out to Replete and to Plasma Tour for going on that journey with us. But yeah, it's just great being able to meet people that you've worked with and spoken to every day. You meet them in real life, and get to perform with them.
Absolutely. So I'm glad you're touching on some of this label stuff as well, because really this is the first time I've had somebody else who runs a label quite similar to mine. Obviously, lots of artists and things like that. So it's good to get your perspective and talk about this, because one of the things you touched on then is obviously producers who some just literally have got no presence. They're just firing music out and you can't find anything of them online. And I've had a problem with this as well. I think that really it should be with a release, it should be really a dual effort on to get things out.
Definitely between artist and label.
And one of the things I've actually done in recent times as well is if I sign a release, I check through everything that this person's going to do. And I almost try and have a checklist of everything I'm going to need and make sure they can adhere to it before I actually sign the music. And I don't need them to be doing like 50 posts a week on social media. I mean, they need to have a Spotify page that's up to date. They need to have their URLs of their social media matching. Do you know what I mean? Just so it's easier to kind of tag them and stuff and things like that as well. Because I'll do all the work as long as they're tagged in it. But I even feel like if you're doing that stuff as well, the music's going to perform a lot better. I mean, at the end of the day, you can write music, but if you want to release it, you've got to fall in line, haven't you, really, when it comes to that?
Quite militant, but I like it. Lee. That's quite intense, but no, it's not a way to do it, especially these days, man. Like, there's so much competition, there's so many artists about.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you take a vast interest in making sure the artists have got this stuff and advising on them then?
Not quite like that, but yeah, we do. Like, I mean, we learn it kind of over time, really, don't we? As well, you can kind of tell.
Yeah, we started a new series called Future Legends, where there's some people on there who have been around the block a little bit, but we tend to use it almost like a sort of training academy to. We didn't want to start up a sub label, because that's just effort and then starting from scratch on so many things. So it's just like an imprint on the same label, Future Legends, and we're going to run that for a bit. And there's like a fair bit of training, like we send out emails and we sort of, help people to do some of that important stuff that they might not know, teach them how to pitch to Spotify for artists, for example, teach them, the ways in which to get most, to beat the algorithm and get the most reach for their posts about their music and that sort of thing. So with more experienced artists, we tend to just trust that they know what they're doing. For example, like when Cliques had a tune out with us, or when Clue or Pyxis do you know what I mean? We're not going to teach our grandmother how to suck eggs, but like I hope that's a expression that people get. You're
not calling Pyxis a grandmother then? No? Sorry, Marissa.
Rob's looking like I've never heard that expression before in my life. But, with some of the newer people, it benefits them as much as it benefits us and the label to sort of walk them through some of the stuff, especially some of it's not particularly intuitive,
Yeah, for sure, 100%. But even like people don't know what they don't know as well. I mean, I can definitely say that 99.9% of the artists I've said, look, you should be doing this. It's definitely going to help your releases, and I'll do this for you now. Just it's going to help in the future. They've all welcomed it as well. Do you know what I mean? Like I say, like the pitching, and I've given them a link to update their Beatport profile. You know what I mean? Just advise them. And, if you start making playlists on your Spotify, it'll help to build it. Just little things like that. It does go a long way. And those people, that come back around to the label might be a different kettle of fish when you're releasing with them as well then, isn't it?
There's so much to do, and you don't know it until you taught it.
Yeah.
Like, particularly pitching playlists, like it's just so much to learn. So you can only learn it by learning it.
That's it. That's why, I mean, it's great, obviously, working with you guys. Even before I've started talking about my checklist, you're like, right, this is what we're going to do for the Pixley. And I'm like, fucking hell, done it all for me, basically. So this is the job I'm obviously taking on that takes the most amount of work. So to work with guys like you who are already running a label and understand that, it's very refreshing.
What we try and do is be the kind of artists that we would want on the label, and we try and be the kind of label that we would want to be signed to as artists. So when we're able to do both of them as effectively as possible, like, because we know what it's like to have like artists who don't really try very hard to write their music. We know what it's like to be on a label that just doesn't give a fuck about you, and so being like, from having those negative experiences, it's a positive because it allows us to know what not to do as artists and as a label.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. And now you work on that almost like I say, you're running it like a business, because you get artists go away and they talk to somebody else and like, fucking working this label was a dream. I mean, we've had a really good recommendation, really. I'm not afraid to even say it, but we had Profuse on the VTO label.
Nice.
And he said, because this was one of the best and most smoothest and comfortable schedules I've had with the release. Can we do another one? I was like, yeah, fucking course we can. Do you know what I mean? So it's great to have that feedback and know you're actually doing it right as well. And I think that obviously brings people to the label when they hear that stuff, doesn't it?
And one of the things as well is when you pay artists, because for some reason it's still so rare to get paid for your music.
But even not necessarily financially given it's been transparent with that as well. So they see something, okay, it's not made money, but they see it's not made money,
but this one probably will next year. Yeah, completely. But that's been good. Like, we've had people like larger artists come to the label because they know that we pay, and there's a lot of labels that just make it impossible to ever get money from them. They add on extra costs. They have a huge threshold. Like, you've got to have £100 in credit before they'll transfer it to you. And, it's just endless hoops. And so when you're paying people want to put out your music, put out their music with you.
Absolutely. And this is another thing that you've helped me with, obviously, with just streamlining my accounting a little bit. We had a chat about that not long ago, and obviously he gave me a bit of advice, and it helped for me as well. Do you know what I mean? And I've always done that. And when obviously the labels made money, obviously we paid out and stuff, but to be able to physically show people what's happening, and it's actually put me in a position now as well where I know what a release is probably going to make when we put it out, and therefore I'm you can start offering that little bit of money up front and things like that as well when you've got those predictions. But yeah, absolutely. Do you know what I mean? Being transparent with your artists, and most of all as a label, being organized, you're going to get success, and that's when it changed for me, definitely.
Nice.
So apart from obviously running your own label and running with these artists, you've worked on a number of other labels as well. Significantly, you've had some big releases over the last couple of years as well. Which of these were you classed as kind of milestone releases that you felt maybe almost changed, Sola in a way, as in, oh wow, this is the next step for us as artists?
For me, there's one very clear one. It was when we first signed Double Down to Program. It was the first. We've been packing away at this stuff for years. We'd had like tunes on labels here and there, but we'd never had one on a household name. And yeah, that changed everything. It even changed just like my mental health, my like perspective on everything. Like it actually felt like things were going somewhere for once. And getting to sign our name on the contract with the Ram logo at the top, man, it was everything. And then everything, and honestly, that changed everything. Like everything followed from that quite quickly.
Yeah, that was the biggest one. And then there's been others that have been cool, like Formation, because of the amount of Formation records that I've got. I was like, oh my god,
it's a bucket list tick, isn't it? That one.
Formation, yeah.
Translates well as well. I feel like most people know Formation are. Same with Ram. Like
and Eat Brain, like most like maybe the 90s junglists in DNB heads might not know of it, but like anyone who's in drum and bass in the last 10 years, Eat Brain is like there. It's got such a recognizable logo, it's got great branding, you see that logo everywhere. People have got tattoos of it at the rave, and wearing t-shirts of it, and it was really, really cool to be able to put out a tune on Eat Brain.
Suburban Bass is worth mention as well.
Suburban Bass,
definitely for an older clientele. Less of the youngsters will know that one, but like, yeah, anyone around our age or older had a few Suburban Bass records growing up.
For sure. And now Dirtbox, We're off,
Yeah,
lads.
that's
We're
the
off.
one. That's the one.
It was a trick question. The interview's over because we didn't say Dirtbox.
I'll edit it in there. You just said it, so I can do that at the end of it. But you touched on something else about mental health with producers as well, and I want to delve a bit more into the kind of psyche of three people producing music together. Mental health is something that comes up quite a lot when I'm talking to artists, and I don't always mean that in a negative sense, because it seems that people obviously regularly producing, you're going to get a lot of setbacks. And a lot of producers out there are doing this on their own, and they do get a lot of negative mental health problems from that. Do you know what I mean? From that setback, wanting to give up, really chucking them and taking 2 steps back when they should be taking a step forward and going over that. Is there any advice you can give around that in terms of obviously getting past those setbacks? Because I do try and ask a lot of producers this, because I want to get that word out there. But also, does it help having 3 of you to deal with those setbacks as well?
So advice, I've not got tons of it, but 100% it helps, because like I mean, we even though there's 3 of us, we definitely have our times with that. But we can pull each other out of the dirt, so to speak.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, like one of us will be having a shitter and just think we can swear, can't we?
Yeah. We're not on the BBC.
Luckily, you can sort of balance and go, no, it's all right. And then pull each other out of the dirt, and like, yeah, it's tricky. We always say we're not quite sure how people do it on their own, because it's crazy. And also, we've had more of our fair share of setbacks. To be honest, we've been doing this a long time. And as they say, you only share the highlight reel, but there's a lot. Like, not just because we do everything. We do events, we do the label, we do everything. So there's so many fallbacks that happen. Just try and pull each other out, I guess. try and share the shitty tasks. Try and share the hard talks, that kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. It's good as well, because like, let's say there's an artist who's on their own and they've got to have a difficult conversation with say a label manager, and they need to confront them about some stuff that's gone wrong. They've got to work out what they need to say on their own. Maybe they can ask a little bit of advice from their friends, but their friends don't have any skin in the game. So then, compare that to, like, say me and Robbie, we can sit down and be like, maybe this sounds better, maybe that sounds better, and there's like 2 heads better than one.
And we'll borderline script it at times.
And we'll work out the best things to say to different people, and it's not just off the dome. It's we get a chance to sort of like, would this sound better, would that sound better, and there's 2 of you working together. It just makes all those really difficult interactions, and you do have to have difficult interactions if you're gonna make it in any industry. It just makes them that much more easy, that much more manageable. And when one of us is like depressed or anxious, the other one can like Robbie says, drag us out of the dirt. And also, like, the good times, when something good comes in, then you celebrated the good times together as well. So it's far less isolated. I don't know how these single artists do it. Some of them, once they get to a certain level, have got a good team around them. They've got a manager, they've got an agent, they've got perhaps an engineer, some help in the studio, but yeah, for people sort of in the mid tier, like on their own, it feels some weeks just feel like you're a tiny ship in a big storm, just getting buffeted everywhere. And I don't know how people stay upright, honestly, on their own. So I feel very, very lucky to be part of this team with Robbie. And Paul is he contributes to making the tunes, but he said from the beginning that he's got like a 50-60 hour job fitting glass in Australia, and add to that the time difference. So me and Rob handle all of the business side of it, and Paul joins us to make tunes at the weekend or on his days off, and that works really well for us. So yeah, it's really, really great having Paul as part of the team, but the day-to-day and the person who keeps me afloat is Robbie, and I fucking love him.
Yeah, man, and vice versa. Like, I was just gonna say, like, there's been times when like we've made a mistake and we've had someone pretty much just telling us off. Like, this has happened a few times, not one specific. A few times, and we had like a voice note just sort of shouting us, and it kind of feels a little bit like when you're at school and you're being told off in the corner. But it always felt a bit better when your mate is in as much trouble as you are. You're both being told off by a teacher. It's better than just being yourself in the corner game. Yeah.
I guess the answer for that as well, obviously with the setbacks and things like that, is collaborate more. There's probably a great a great story to be told in collaborating with music. I mean, another side note from that is, if you want a track to do well on things like Spotify, one of the 50 things they look for to push a tune and get it in those editorials is collaboration, isn't it? So not only possibly are you going to help the mental health side of things with doing that, because you've got somebody to bounce off and share the experience, but you're going to give yourself more likeliness in terms of getting the music out there as well, aren't you?
And you said about advice. My advice for people who are sort of about where Sola is to maybe make some friends with other people about your level and chat every day. Maybe have a group chat, and people that you trust, and say, oh, this has happened, that's happened. Share the good, share the bad, and try and feel less isolated with it. Because if you're trying to just do all this on your own, take it all on by yourself, and you've probably got a full-time job as well if you're where we are, and it can just be so much. So make sure you're communicating with people who understand, and not isolating.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, the music industry, while we are sole producers or sole label owners, sole DJs, it is a group effort, isn't it? There's a whole industry here to kind of share those experiences with. And yeah, going it alone, I don't think is ever the way. You can be a producer on your own, but you need that support system around you if you're not got two other guys who are part of a group with you, isn't it?
Yeah,
definitely.
So on the flip of that,
this is in no way original advice talk, but the whole thing about the highlight reel is so unbelievably fucking true. Like, that's what kills most of us, really. We'll be in we'll be in a point where we feel like we're in a bit of a rut, and we'll go online and we'll see all of our peers smashing it. But they felt like us a week ago, and then we felt like them the week before that. Like I say, it's not original advice, but it's completely true. Like, what we see is just them winning. We don't see them falling apart in the studio. We don't see them getting turned down by labels. We don't see them all the horrible shit. We don't see them being broke because we
don't see them getting booked for something, and then the lineup comes out and they're not on it, and and they're like, well, what the fuck did we do wrong? And there's so much fucking shit that can just happen to you. And like Bobby says, when we're on social media, we're not posting our losses, we're posting our wins, because it's a tool to try and generate more gigs. That's what social media is. You're working really hard in the studio, you're working hard with the label, and you're saying to people, right, book us, we're going to come down, we're going to smash your event. So that's what everyone's doing as well. And so you don't get an accurate representation of what things are like for everyone else, which is why communication with other people, honest communication, is just so important for keeping your head if you're not in a group.
Yeah, it is. We do seem to be all DJs at heart, really, don't we? I mean, any discussion I've had around this is really the music's there to promote the gigs, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And everything we do around it, you have a brand in place because you want gigs, and you push for that for the majority. For the majority. So was it that way around for you guys then? I mean, obviously you're touching on this quite a bit. Were you DJs before producers?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I've been DJing for 22 years now. And was it 18 for you, Rob?
18 for me, yeah.
Yeah, and we've only been taking production seriously for about 10 years. So it's, a whole long time of just being DJs. And I'd say, although I absolutely love all the music that we make, like, my number one passion is and has always been making rooms full of people dance. And like, that's just my absolute jam. That's what I want to do with my life, always have wanted to do with my life. But don't get me wrong, I absolutely love producing. But I mean, the two go hand in hand, because there's nothing better than seeing a room full of strangers erupting to something that you've created yourself in the studio. You know,
100%. Yeah, I definitely have that
experience. That it's just not the same. You know, getting a crowd reaction from a big tune that any DJ could get a crowd reaction from that tune. You know,
it's when it's a bit more personal to you, isn't it?
Absolutely.
100%.
Not just personal because you made it, but personal because you're the only one that's got it. You know, the amount of times you've been in the crowd watching a DJ and they play 10 songs that the DJ before played, and you think that's fucking lazy. They should have got there a bit before their set and listened to make sure that, you know, they weren't going to be repeating, and B, like, why aren't they reaching for like rarer tunes, you know, hidden gems, dubs that they might have been sent. And it's really nice knowing that, like, we could turn up at a gig and there could be fucking terrible traffic. We get there at 1 minute 2, and we know for a fact that there's no way that 90% of our tunes could have been played by the last DJ because we're the only ones that have them.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I do feel we've had a similar path with that. I mean, I started DJing for it myself. I was very lucky to start producing really early on in my career, like super early. I think I'd been DJing for like 4 years, and then I started producing. So this is my 25th year doing it. The biggest problem I've had in the last few years is I have a love-hate relationship with producing music. I don't like starting music. I don't like finishing music, but I love all the creativity in between, you know. So to actually get me to go and sit down and start something, it's the biggest effort. It's almost like going to the gym. You know, once I get going, I'm on a roll. And that's kind of the biggest thing I've had in terms of setbacks with it. Plus, you know, having kids and a full-time job, you can't do everything, unfortunately. It's a tough one to add that as something else to get in there. So that's probably why my output's maybe 1 track a year, if that.
Being in a group definitely helps us with that. I think we actually find starting a tune quite exciting sometimes, but that's when there's 3 of us on there.
Yeah,
we'll come up with an idea. Like, I mean, the most obvious one we'll think of is when we did Pico de Gallo, which is like one of our biggest songs. And we knew the style, we knew what we were doing, like a Mexican style thing, and we just went in and we had the basis of the tune made in an hour or 2.
Yeah, something that I think that was the first one, but what we sometimes do is come up with the name of a tune, then all try and make a tune that sounds like the name. The Pico de Gallo was definitely one that was like that. I just thought it was a really cool name for a tune, and it really inspired us to make it as sort of Spanish sounding as possible.
Definitely one of your more original sounding names for a track, isn't it? And we'll talk about names and originality and names in a bit. So got some things to run over with you on that. Just talking about the trio still as well. We've talked about some of the positives that lays out, but what about some of the negatives? And we don't have to go too deep into this, but, you know, as a trio, what setbacks do you have? But most importantly, how do you fix those? Because I think that'd be very interesting for people to hear.
So with us, I think we lined out what we were going to do from the off. Like, we always, like I said, Paul works 50 hours a week. We knew he couldn't be part of everything. The goal was just always, me and James are going to steam ahead, and Paul can be involved as much as he possibly can be and wants to be. I think that solved a lot of problems. It just means when we meet, we generally meet on a Friday around this time, because it's 9 p.m. for him and it's like 12 in the afternoon for us. And we'll just get him. We'll start a few things. We'll just get as much of his input as we possibly can in that little bit of time, basically. And then for the rest of the week, we'll steam ahead. And I think that's helped a lot. It's just so we know he doesn't feel left behind. He never feels like he's not putting in enough. He puts in exactly as much as he can, and we do the rest.
Do you never come across the situation of it being too many cooks, so to speak? Or
you would think so, but not really. There's certain not a formula, because I don't think the music we make is formulaic, but there are certain rules that the Sola sound obeys. Like, for example, like, I don't know, like there's not too many sections that are like really similar. The tunes tend to have like a lot of changes. There'll be a change that happens on the 8, one on the 16, when there's intro elements that are very musical, they'll come in and start playing. At points in the body of the track, and there's considering we make all different subgenres of drum and bass, people tell us that we do somehow manage to have a sound within that. I think it's partly because there are these sort of unwritten rules, so we often all feel like something would be right. So it's not like Rob's going, oh no, the vocal should come back in there, and I'm going, oh no, the vocal should not come back in at all after the intro, and Paul's going, oh no, the vocal needs to be looped across the whole thing. We all kind of understand what a Sola tune is and how it's going to sound. After the tune's about an hour old, we can all hear how it will sound when it's 25 hours old, Yeah,
for sure.
And obviously there's disagreements, but there's three of us, so if we're all happy if we get a vote.
I think we all back down about an equal amount.
Yeah.
And I think we just seen the actual fourth member of Sola. Sorry, pull my headphones out there. I think we just saw the fourth member of Sola coming into
Matilda.
Matilda. I thought we was going to end up with another Stonks interview then, and having an animal's arsehole in the camera for 15 minutes. We interviewed Stonks not long ago, and his cats came on, and all they were doing was just showing their arsehole on camera for the entire interview. I was like,
careful what you wish for.
So do you guys have a similar set of kind of inspirations then? Obviously, you're working so well together. You come from quite similar backgrounds as well. You've all got, that kind of synchronization with the mindset. Do you all have similar inspirations? And I'd like you to talk for Paul as well, if possible.
Yeah, so Paul is the oldest member of the group. I think he's he might be 46.
75 next year.
He's what? 75. Yeah.
Yeah, he's in his 40s. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so he came up with like very early sort of hardcore and jungle sort of DJ Ham type stuff. DJ rap, sort of the early sub bass stuff. And then I came into it like a little bit later, sort of early 2000s with the sort of Shy FX type stuff. And then Rob, you were more sort of like with the pendulum era.
Pendulum, sub-focus, metric,
So
But Paul is into that stuff. We're
all into all that stuff, but we all have a different era and style that got us into DJing originally. But yeah, we all like the full spectrum of stuff,
and that's the important thing. I don't think we realized even when he first did the remix for us, I think we never realized quite how into everything he is, because honestly the three of us, we go, right, we're gonna do a liquid tune today. We've just started doing some 160 140 stuff, and it flowed just as easy as the 170 stuff. So like we really can just flow into anything.
That's interesting. Yeah, I do love my 140 stuff as well. Obviously, I have the side label of Are You Serious, which is a bit more of a passion project as well. Any plans on maybe doing something along those lines for yourself at that 140?
The label or...
Yeah, label.
Oh no. Like we said, we like GTA keeps us so insanely busy, man. Like we thought about doing a sister label, even that's too much shit. But I mean, we've put out bits and bobs on GTA. Like one of my favorite things we do is put out artists albums. Like our album's got a few of the tempos on it. Plasma Tour's got loads of all sorts on it. Yeah, we released the tempos.
He had a lovely dubstep track.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, great tune.
Featuring our friend Freddie B.
Yeah, I love that track. Yeah, as long as it's part of a body of work. I don't think we put out a single of like a 140 tune, but yeah. Yeah,
if there's like 6, 7, 12 tracks and one of them's or two of them's non-DNB, then I think that's good. But we have to be realistic about our market, and we're known for drum and bass. The people who get notifications about us releasing music, on Bandcamp and on Beatport, they're into drum and bass. If we suddenly dropped a garage album, then it might be a waste of resources, because I don't think we'd get back what we put into it.
Just sending it to our in-flight, it'd just be a waste. It'd just be sending it to hundreds of people that have no use for it.
Yeah.
So when you look at the levels of obviously where people are with production, you guys have obviously taken a big step up in the last few years as well. When you look at where you are right now, what do you think is going to take you to the next level? Do you see yourself leveling out for a little bit more, or have you got plans to kind of increase that, you know, that next step up into the stratosphere of what's
We've
going
got some crazy collabs coming up. Like vocalists, we've got gone on some of our tunes coming up. I mean, we can announce them. We've already told them. We've got a tune with General Levy, which is insane. We've got a tune with Skells. We
got one with Genesis Elijah.
Yeah,
that's pretty mad. We've got one with Dread MC and Exile that's coming out in a couple of weeks on Jungle Cakes. But one thing that people, if they're not producers, they might not know is most of the stuff we released this year we made last year. So I already feel like we have leveled up from the stuff that's coming out now to the stuff that's coming out later in the year and next year. I already feel like that we haven't plateaued. We're still continuing that upward trend in terms of production skill. But I think the two things that have helped the most are simplicity, so learning in the mix down what to bring back in the mix and what to remove completely, rather than what to add and what to push up. So sort of, yeah, just minimizing and streamlining. And the other thing that has really helped us is, I had another thing in my mind. I can't think of it now. Give us 1 second.
Okay. Well, you talk about the simplicity side of things. I mean, if we were to take that as an example,
the rawness, making things less polished. So while the drums are always really polished, just having a sort of rawness, rather than everything being really pristine and everything sounding that. And I don't say this as a negative, because I really love Subfocus, but Subfocus's stuff is very, very clean. And then, you know, people that are doing really well at the moment, people like Mosey, they've got like a sort of rawness to them if you compare it to like Subfocus's production, and just being able to sort of try and be halfway between Mosey and Subfocus. Really, that's what we try and aim for. Very polished, but also you know, very raw.
Yeah, those producers, that their music sounds very full, but in actual fact it isn't, is it? It's very much stripped back.
Especially,
Yeah, I mean, look what happened to Surum. As soon as he started stripping back a lot of the sounds and things and simplifying it, he just took off, didn't he? You know, and that's the big sound now, thanks to him, basically. Do you take much inspiration from any other big artists or labels at the moment that helps and drives, you know, what you guys are trying to do?
I mean, we're a bit of a melting pot, really, aren't we? So a bit of everything.
Yeah. I personally, like, just for me, I don't listen to as much music as Rob. Rob listens to music 24/7. Like when we were on tour, it was literally constantly listening to music, whereas I like to listen to nothing a lot of the time when I'm not in the studio working, or like working for a client, or working, you know, as part of Sola. I like to either have silence, or I like to listen to like jazz, classical, rock. So I don't really listen to that much drum and bass, and I try not to get inspired by what other people are doing. I just want to, I'd hate to be influenced by the stuff that's going on, particularly because we know what sounds good. What we don't want to do is like start making stuff that's in the Beatport top 10, you know, that just sounds like a clone of what someone else is doing, like biting on their style. That's not anything that I'd ever want to do.
No, I fully agree with that. I think I only listen to drum and bass now in a DJ sense. I'm looking for music to play my DJ sets and what's going to go together. But yeah, I mean, my headphones are usually full of podcasts, basically comedy podcasts. I can't remember the last time I just sat down and listened to a Spotify playlist in full, unless I was you know, in the car and just trying to chief out what was new and what was good.
I listen to literally everything. I listen to literally everything from fucking pop punk to gabba to heavy metal to indie to whatever. So so that's where I take my inspiration from other stuff.
Non-DNB stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So what podcasts are you listening to, Lee?
It's mostly comedy stuff, really.
You'll have a word.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Have a Word podcast.
I've not. What's that one? Who does that?
Oh, it's the best one. This Have a Word. It's some lads in Liverpool.
I've seen it. I've definitely seen it. I've not jumped on it because I've only seen like the clips on YouTube and things like that. So I've not jumped on it because nothing's kind of grabbed me. But I've seen some like stories on YouTube. You know, the reels kind of thing.
I'm addicted to those dickheads, man. I don't know what it is.
I go back to like a lot of what started me off was quite a while ago. I started watching like Joe Rogan like about 15 years ago nearly. Well, about 2011, 2012. I was listening to Joe Rogan, and then that kind of put me on to some like US kind of radio shows like Opie and Anthony, that's basically like a version of, do you remember Howard Stern?
Oh yeah,
America. So it's like that. It's like, you know, kind of shock jock stuff. Do you know what I mean? No music and the drive time radio. And then I discovered loads of American comedians like Bill Burr and, you know, things like that. And Legion of Skanks, just kind of offensive comedy stuff, just to kind of get me laughing on the way to work and in the gym and things like that. Do you have anything like that, Rob? You into any?
I listen to Have a Word so much, man. Like that's all. Like I like little bits and bobs of other podcasts, but honestly, I don't know what it is, man. I've been listening to them for about 4 years. I'm on their Patreon and all that. Like I just listen to it all the time. I don't know. They put out 2 episodes a week, and it's absolutely my style of comedy. And then in a sort of sad but like happy sense, it kind of like when you're away quite a bit and you're kind of on your own at times, it kind of fills the void. It's sort of like listening to your mates, just have a little laugh in the background sometimes.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean, it kind of makes you feel at home.
Yeah, definitely with that.
Yeah. So what podcasts are you listening to at the minute?
So for me, mostly comedy podcasts. You know, I started listening to Joe Rogan. That got me into learning about loads of comedians. What about yourself, James? Do you touch on any podcasts as well?
There's a mental health one I listen to, Slow Mo with Mo Gordat. It's all about sort of mindfulness and trying to live in the present moment, because when you're thinking about the past or thinking about the future, then that's when you're feeling anxious. But when you're concentrating on things that are, you know, right there in front of you, then that's where you get calmness and peace from. When I do listen to some comedy stuff, one of the ones I quite like, even though I don't particularly like Ed Gamble, is Off Menu with Ed Gamble and James Acast. I like James Acast. I can't stand Ed Gamble, but I still listen to it anyway, despite the fact I don't like him. Yeah. Then tend to watch quite a bit of stuff, really. I listen to audiobooks as well.
Yeah, I'm the same. It's always when I'm in the gym or driving that I consume it the most.
If you watch that, The Boys?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's about the only thing I turn the TV on to actually watch now, but I don't think I've watched terrestrial TV in about 4 years.
Yeah,
if I'm honest.
Quality.
I see you can find better stuff streaming and even on YouTube now, can't you?
Yeah.
So we talked a lot about earlier on about obviously having family and having time to do the kind of things as well. I know you're in a similar situation to me, James. Obviously you're DJing, producing, running a label. You've got children, you've got the missus, the house, the mortgage, the full-time job. How do you juggle it all? What's the secret for you?
So, I mean, a lot of the time it doesn't feel like you're juggling in it all very well. A lot of the time it feels like you're sort of dropping balls everywhere, but that's just part and parcel with you know, when you're trying to do a lot. I think the most important things are to make sure you keep yourself motivated. You know, I'm getting up and I'm doing this because, you know, I want to achieve the things that I want to achieve. You know, for myself and for my family, and that sort of helps. You know, sometimes all you want to do is like lie on the sofa in the fetal position for 2 hours, but instead you sort of like, I'm going to get up, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do the other, and remembering why you're doing it really helps to you know, stop you from wasting so much time. I saw this Stephen Bartlett interview where he talks about how, like, at the start of our life, we're given something like 500,000 chips, and every day we lose 24 of them. And there's only a finite number. You know, maybe some people only get 100,000, some people get 600,000, but each one of them represents an hour of your life. And, you know, you think, what am I going to spend the next hour doing? Because I'm going to spend that chip either way. Is it going to be something that I'm going to benefit from, or is it just going to have been a wasted chip? And you know, that really helps me to go and do things that I don't want to do, like get fit and healthy, like, you know, do a shitload of admin, or, you know, do X, Y, and Z. And it's like a good thought experiment to try and get myself to spend this finite resource in a wise way.
For sure. What about yourself, Rob? Are you juggling a lot more than just the music in your life?
Not particularly, man. Like, I have a couple of little side jobs I do, but they're generally the weekend or in the evenings. I live with my girlfriend for about 5 years, and I've not got kids, I've not got a mortgage, but like music still very much gets in the way sometimes.
Yeah.
But she's great, man. Like, she much like James's partner, she puts up with us going away and having to fucking go and play at fucking the arse end of the country at 5 a.m. and come back. It's very much depends on your recipe of your life, doesn't it?
Very, very similar situations we're all in. I mean, big up to the partners. You
100%.
They let us chase our dreams, so to speak, don't they?
I know many that have had to call it a day because their partners were less understanding.
100%.
We're both lucky to have one. Big up to Maria for letting us go and be idiots in Australia for a month at a time. So I mean, that's a huge part of it, to be honest. Yeah.
And I think you touched on something as well with how many chips you got there, Jay. That's a brilliant analogy, one of the best I've definitely heard, because for me nowadays, there's no wasted time. Every hour counts. So when I look at my week, the majority of it is planned out just before that week happens, and that there's a bit of chaos there, of course. But I look at how I can kind of make the right amount of time through that week with doing things. You know, I do a lot of my music stuff in the evening, and I alternate those evenings. So some nights I'm just going to bed and I'm just having a bit of time out to watch some telly and do that with the missus and things like that. I get home from work, it's all the kids. And then obviously my time is just maybe a couple of hours every other night and stuff like that as well. So it's planning that time as well, I think.
It is planning that time, because not all time, even doing the same activities, is equal. Like, let's say you want to play a computer game for an hour, right? If you plan that as R&R, and you say, right, tonight at 10 o'clock after the kids go to bed, I'm going to play that game for an hour, and you sit down and you relax, and it helps refill your batteries ready for the next day. That's great. But let's say you're planning to do some admin and you think, oh, I'm just going to play 10 minutes on my game first, and then you play for an hour. You don't feel refreshed and recharged, because the whole time you're thinking about the shit that you need to do. So you've wasted that hour because you don't feel good after it. So you're doing the same thing. You're playing your game for an hour, but because it wasn't planned in, because you're procrastinating, doing less fun things, you just wasted the time. So yeah, planning it, like you say, really important.
Yeah, and like you said as well, when you do get sidetracked, and there's plenty of times I've got sidetracked when I should have been doing the admin work and things, and then suddenly it's Thursday and you've got to do it all, and it's the worst to force yourself to do it as well, isn't it? So
definitely,
yeah, organization is a key to my life in the last few years, 100%. So let's have a chat about the music then. It's been a while, obviously, me batting on your doors to get this release on Dirtbox, and we finally got there in the end. And for me, it couldn't have come at a better time. It couldn't come as a better collaboration. But I'll let you tell the story. Obviously, we've been kind of going backwards and forwards about getting you a release on Dirtbox. How did that come to fruition from your side of it?
So we've done loads of tracks with Marissa, haven't we?
Yeah, well, I mean, the Dirtbox thing, it's just kind of sat in our to-do list for years, like write Dirtbox tune for Lee. And even though we're a multi-genre label, we didn't realize you were. Everything that we'd heard was neuro. So that's a style of our music that tends to be more in demand. People are always going, oh, you got some neuro stuff for us, you got some neuro stuff for us. So there just wasn't really anything to send you for ages, because it just kept getting snapped up. We'd send off a tune and they'd say, oh, can we get 3 more? And so we'd be making neuro, write 3 more tunes for them. Do you know what I mean? So then when we're looking at the project, or who should we give a tune to? Well, we've just made a load of neuro, let's make something else. So then Marissa hit us up and she said, oh, that tune we're working on, you okay if we give it to Dirtbox? And we were like, oh, brilliant. We've been looking to make something for him for years. So
yeah, I never would have guessed this style of music. Like, it's such a mellow, dreamy tune. And like you say, we always thought it was going to be something a bit heavier.
Yeah, I think I do see where that comes from, because it's not the first time that's happened. Obviously, me predominantly in my drum and bass career, I've been a neurofunk DJ for it, but I've always loved all types of drum and bass. I played plenty of sets out there, but I am known more for the neurofunk sound. And obviously, I do have a neurofunk label, but Dirtbox been covering everything. Obviously, you know, at first glance, you're going to get kind of tired with that brush. So, you know, for me, it's been for the past 12 months, I've tried to make sure that people could see it was everything out there. And this is where the Vibe City compilation come from. I weren't giving Liquid enough love, and I do love Liquid drum and bass. So last year we put 2 compilations out in a month, focusing on it. They did really, really well. A year later, here we are with the 3rd compilation. And obviously the Pyxis and Sola collab is the almost like the front runner of that, to promote the album. And we've got you as a single actually coming out on September the 6th, don't we?
yeah.
So yeah, great to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Obviously we've been wanting to get Pyxis on here as well. But tell us how this collaboration with Pyxis come out. You said you've done quite a few with her. How did all this come about, originally working with her?
I mean, we've done loads with her. She's one of the easiest people to work with, I think. Like, we collaborate with a lot of people, but I feel like our ones with Marissa always go the smoothest.
Yeah, absolutely. She is our publicist as well, like half the drum and bass scene. Both for Grand Theft Audio publishing and for Solar publishing. And yeah, it's
and she released tunes on GTA as well. We've
released tunes on GTA.
We've worked with her in every sort of capacity, really.
So yeah, sometimes when she's got a tune, she'll say, oh, do you want to collab on it? Or we'll say the same to her, you know, do you want to collab on it? I think we've made 6 or 7 tunes now. I can't remember exactly how this one started. I think we started 2 at about the same time. One of them went to you and one of them went somewhere else. It's the more music you have, the harder it is to remember exactly.
Well, it's definitely one of the highlights of the album. I'm loving the track, and we'll talk about that. But it's funny you mentioned obviously working with Marissa, and she does obviously your publishing. She's a Dan Trace publisher as well, and I kind of started to talk to her in a sense of that. And what I found out is I actually used to work with her 20 years ago.
Oh, did you?
And I didn't even realize it was her. So long story short, and I hope you don't mind me mentioning this, but I used to do a lot of work with her ex-husband. And basically I was making tunes
Ham, isn't it?
Yeah, DJ Ham.
Yeah, that we mentioned before as being
Hamilton.
Yeah, Hamilton.
Yeah, aka Hamilton in drum and bass. So yeah, I did a lot of work with him, and obviously through him I kind of knew her and spoke to her on occasion. And then when I stopped doing hardcore and he did, I kind of drifted away and things like that. And I kind of touched base again through Dan Trace, just speaking to her, and she gave me some advice on certain things around the publishing side of it. So since then, and I knew she was making music, it's kind of been a goal to kind of get her onto the label and do something in terms of working with her. So yeah, thanks for that. I guess it kind of molded into one, and all the stars aligned for it, didn't it?
Brilliant. We're fans of Stars Aligning.
Yes, name of our debut album.
Very good. Let's talk about the name. So I wanted to get about this. Obviously, I didn't really come across this when we came out. So Time's Lost, isn't it? The name of the track. So I was going through the Vibe City album the other day, and I noticed 6 tracks on the album have the words time or lost in the tracks. So I was like, all right, I've got to kind of put a lid on this. So you guys are very lucky in the sense I'm not going to ask you to rename the track. It's already out there. It's ready. Unfortunately, 4 or 5 others on the LP have had to change the name of the track.
That's crazy.
Just for that. So it got me thinking.
So you know, we would have, like, if it wasn't already too late, we would have. Like,
well, to be fair,
I didn't even know
that sort of thing.
Well, I put yours out as the sampler, and it's there and it's out there. But it got me thinking. It's like, I've heard those words a lot when it comes to liquid drum and bass. So I started to do a little bit of research, and I'm going to pull my research up now, basically.
Okay.
On Beatport right now, there are 3,772 tracks in drum and bass alone with the words either time or lost in the title. 2,000 of them are liquid.
Yeah.
So there seems to be a common theme when people think of their liquid track in having the words time or lost in the track. Where did the name come from for you? I mean, obviously thinking about that, how did you put it in there? Because I think it's a great coincidence. I think it's an hilarious thing to actually talk about as well.
I had no idea it was quite that generic.
If you were to ask him to change the name, it would have been the trickiest one on there, because not only does it say time lost, it also says lost time. Fun fact, that's James that says it on there.
Oh yeah, I do. I provide some of the samples on Sola tunes.
Right, okay.
So it says it forward down backwards, so it would have been one of the trickier ones to rename.
Yeah, it says time lost and lost time. At one point it was called time lost, and now it's called lost time.
Yeah,
or vice versa. I can't remember.
But yeah, I like I said, I'm glad it kind of sparked that thought process for me, and I was laughing my head off when I seen just how many times used, because I definitely have seen it before when it comes to liquid, and I guess it's those kind of words that you have around the liquidity of tranquilness and things like that, and the vibe of it.
Melancholy element to a lot of liquid. I'd say 99% of liquids in a minor key, and is supposed to be sort of moody and atmospheric, and I think
it's the thought process behind it, isn't it?
Feelings of losing something is also melodic. Melancholy, and the feelings of time drifting away are very melancholy. So, it makes sense to have words that invoke a melancholy emotion or describe music that also provokes that emotion.
I love it. It's the psychology of music. When we don't really touch on that. It's I mean, if you go and talk to the Fifth about name tunes, like fuck me, that the guy, I think he just writes words down on pieces of paper and pulls it out of a hat. He doesn't really put much thought into it. Of the Fifth, big up Phil. Obviously love the music, but the names have to change, mate, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, let's look at obviously other things. I'm sure if you put the same method to neurofunk, you're going to have a similar outcome with certain words. I mean, I know for a fact if I go and search the gabba genre and search for the word fuck, probably about 99%, isn't it, when it comes to stuff like that?
Well, I mean, I made a playlist on Spotify of Sola songs that end with the word "you." So we have like 9 or 10, but the thing is that they're all ones with original vocalists, so they're all it's a variety of vocalists as well. So we have about 9 songs that all end with titles like
they're all with different vocalists.
Dreaming of you, thinking of you, but none of them are our fault. they're all because of so I mean, it just it happens, doesn't it?
I think that a lot of our I think that because we talked to other artists about this sort of stuff, and there are some people that just don't care about names. They'll write the entire tune
like Phil,
just give it a name at the end. Whereas we name it very early on in the process. Normally, after the first session, we'll name it, or partway through the first session, we'll name it, and the name won't change. And the name is kind of aspirational, kind of where we want the tune to head. So we give it a name that evokes an emotion that we also then want the music to invoke that emotion. And that's kind of what we do with it. And yeah, so the naming happens very early on in the process, and we do try and name the tracks at least something that we've not heard before.
Yeah, for sure. Apart from this one.
Well, I've not heard another.
Yeah, I'm joking, of course.
We also do concept songs, which I quite like. I love that we got Pico de Gallo, we've got the Mexican one. There's a song called Oblivion that's based entirely off the roller coaster at Alton Towers.
Brilliant.
Amazonia is just like based off someone walking through the Amazon.
Apocalypse with
the Holy P.
With it just sounds like people playing like stringed instruments while the world burns.
I mean, the Holy P is called the End of the World EP, so that Holy P is EP. So that's something
calamity,
So we go one step further and do full concepts, not just titles.
For sure. I mean, the Mexican one, that's very original, isn't it? The Mexican one that you did.
Yeah.
And then
really like that about it.
2 months later, was it Amos brought out a track called Pico de Gallo?
Yeah, I think it's Amos. But
He must have been gutted because it's such
it's
a
a good
name
song.
for a
It's a
track.
good song, but it's not got any like Mexican elements to it. Really.
No.
So what was the process with collaborating with Pyxis then? You guys obviously came up with a name on that. Was it an original track from her and she passed it to you, or did you guys get together? How did you go through the process?
I can't remember. I know we did the bass lines. I think she did a lot of the melodies.
Yeah, we've made a lot of tunes that it's hard to keep track of the process.
I'd imagine we did the drums.
Yeah,
used elements of her drums. So
she quite often comes to us with a very little sort of idea she's got, and then then we'll do it, and then we'll zoom, and
sent us like 9-10 tracks
Yeah.
that she had started, and we picked the ones that we thought we'd be able to do a good job on.
She's going to start something, then we'll have a go, and then we'll meet on Zoom, and then
and then we wrote two bass lines. There's the Reese bass line, and there's the sort of dom bom 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 bom, and that sort of second walking bass line was the first drop.
she wanted to switch it.
Oh, switch it. It sound better for the Reese to be the first drop, and then the walking bass line to be the redrop. So we did as we were told.
Great stuff. Yeah, she does like her collaborations. It seems she bounces off people quite well, doesn't she, when she's making these, from the sounds of it. Have you guys got many other collaborations lined up for the future?
Oh, loads.
Yeah, tons.
Loads. We've got one with Dunk from Jam Thieves. We've got another one in the works with Freddie B. Like we said earlier, we've got the one with General Levy. We've got one with
Dobbs.
Did you get to meet General Levy and do that together, or was it?
No, sadly, no. It's not how it works these days, really, man. Sadly.
Yeah, I managed a release with him last year with DJ Rap, and they were together the most of it. They filmed a video together. They got in the studio, so I did wonder if he, if he generally likes to do that, or if he's all right just sending vocals.
I was chatting to Rap about that. They live quite locally. It's it's quite a mission from here, just to sort of get down south for things.
Yeah, for sure.
You ever see General Levy walking through Wigan, something's up. you know the sequel's on its way.
Wigan jungle is massive.
I like it. Incredible. So apart from the collaborations, then what's next for Sola? Are we going to see any more events? Anything special on the label you can give us the exclusive on right now?
The big one's the vinyl EP, I think. Not super exclusive, but we've got a vinyl EP coming on Right Dubs, and that's got the General Levy track. It's got a track with Conrad Subs. It's got a track with Jasmine Knight and Sammy Hall, and a track with Skills.
Yeah, that's going to be wicked. We've got a big one on Jungle Cakes coming up with Exile and Dread MC. That's been getting played at all the festivals, and it's just amazing watching the footage come in and seeing like 10,000 people dancing to your tunes and stuff. It's like, that never gets old,
Yeah.
And then we got some cool tunes with Stuart Rowe coming up on our own label. We've got collabs with Shaper coming out on his EP next month. The month
his
after,
EP's crazy.
Yeah, just got that from you boys.
Yeah,
amazing release.
Mental.
Collab with Plasmator that's on his album in October, and then Perplex. He's writing an album for us for early next year. We're going to do a collab with them for that. So,
we've just remixed Heist.
Oh yeah, we've just remixed Heist, Juicy Fruits. That's cool. That's coming out very soon. We've got a bootleg out yesterday, Ellie Goulding Burn. We've basically all year and for the rest of the year we've had something happening either on GTA or Sola every single Friday, apart from when we were away for 2 weeks. Just constant stream of you don't want it 2 or 3 on the same Friday, but you don't want to have 4 or 5 Fridays where nothing's happening and people forget about you. So just a steady stream of stuff. It seems to be working for us now.
Yeah, we just remixed we just moved to a band called Sonic Boom 6, who are you might not be familiar with them, but in their own scene, in the sort of punk rock scene, they're very, very well known. They're a good one of my favorite bands. I just saw them play at Boomtown. They were fucking great.
And you turned them into drum and bass, did you say?
Yeah, I mean they've got quite. So we've done it before. It's our second remix of that sort of ska punk sort of sound. But like that music lends itself to it anyway. Like it's fast, it has breaks in it. Like particularly Sonic Boom 6, if you listen to their music, they have a lot of like synthetic bass lines and stuff in the music anyway. Brilliant. So yeah, that's coming out vinyl as well.
The output's been phenomenal this year, so it's great to see that it's going to be carrying on till next year as well. And the release schedule is this all heavy and ready to go for the rest of the year as well on the label?
Yeah, on the rest.
Absolutely, yeah. We've got stuff basically up to about March. Yeah. Always work about 6 months ahead.
Brilliant stuff. So lots in the pipeline for Sola. Boys, it's been absolutely brilliant. But before I let you go, I want to have a little bit of fun, if that's all right. And I'm going to shoot you with some quick fire questions. So what we could probably do with this is just take it in turns to answer the question. And obviously, if you got something good to say, you jump in. Okay. So who wants to start? Should we go with you, Rob?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. Your most favorite non-drum and bass tune at the minute?
At the minute, oh my god. It'll be one about Jamie Webster's. He's like a sort of Scouse Oasis, and his new album, "Lovers in the Supermarket" by Jamie Webster. That's what I'm going to say. Listen to him. It's a Scouser, and it's got that energy of the old school Oasis, and I'm obsessed with him.
What about you, James?
Non-DNB. It's probably just going to sound like a plug, but it's a tune called "Constant" by Plasmator, forthcoming on Grand Theft Audio. I just absolutely love it. I put it on sometimes for fun and listen to it.
What genre would you class it as?
Electronica.
Okay. Interesting. One for you then, Rob. Name another trio just as good as Sola. Doesn't have to be drum and bass. You could say the fucking
just as good
Stooges if you want. Yeah. So name another iconic trio other than Sola. And like I said, could be something like the Three Stooges, anything like that,
Oh, I mean, my childhood favorite band is Green Day. I've listened to them since I was 11 years old. I was also going to say Pendulum, and then the obvious one's Noisia. Trios. I think trios are the best. I think trios work really well.
It's a three.
I think trios are brilliant.
I gave you a trio of trios, bro. So.
Okay, one for you, James. Who's the best?
Hang on, Musketeers. I've got to do a trio of trio as well. Musketeers, Muse, Blind Mice.
Solid.
Nice. Brilliant. Who's the best looking, James, in Sola?
Matilda.
Matilda. Oh yeah, the extra on the side. Good looking dog. Rob,
So
who's the
Angie
best?
knows it.
Rob, who's the best cook?
Oh, I mean that is actually James. That's not even like That's not even. It's James. It's quite easy. I've never been made food by Paul, but it's probably James, isn't it?
I don't know. Australians, they've got the knack for the barbecues and stuff like that. They live up to.
There was a really sad moment when we were in Perth when we wanted to throw some shrimp on the barbie, but it was raining, so we had to throw shrimp on the hob.
Yeah.
Great stuff. What is your signature dish then, James?
Oh. It's tough to narrow it down to one. I do like making beef Wellington with a nice big Chateaubriand. That's quite nice. I make loads of food, but curry. I really like making curry. I make probably a couple a week.
Okay. And one for both of you. Who can be the most annoying in Sola?
Me.
I can't say Matilda.
Me.
We're human beings, and then we can all be fucking annoying.
And my final one: who is most likely to end up getting replaced with AI in Sola? So you'd replace the member with an AI version.
Matilda again.
Yeah, one of them little yappy robot dogs.
Yeah, little K9 unit.
Would you notice? Do you think? Start doing the
My
robot.
wife would notice before I did.
You sat there stroking it still.
She'd say, "Why has the dog run out of batteries?"
Brilliant stuff. Well, thanks for that, guys. Really
Nice one,
appreciate
mate.
your time today. We're here to promote the brand new release. It's the Vibe City 3 sampler single out on the 6th of September. Sola and Pyxis finally on Dirtbox Recordings after all this time. Hopefully not the last. We'll be having more chats next year, hopefully, about the next one.
Thanks, man. Nice one, mate.
Thanks for having us, Lee.
No
Take care,
worries
buddy.
at all. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Bye.